It's War Dragon time, RPW here with another Beginner's Guide to War Dragon series video. Now in today's video, we are continuing our 4-part series on the new series of July called All About That Base. Now, if you missed it on our first episode back at the first week of July, we did Back to the Basics, which is where we simply talk about the islands and how they're set up, where what is what, and etc. Then the following week, we did using guides and planners online so that you can prepare for things like fortifications and how you can best use guides to help you build your base. Now this week, we're going to be going over defense towers and perches. So let's get in this because there is a lot to talk about. So what is defense towers? Defense towers are these right here. You've got everything from dark flags to ice turrets, as well as elemental towers. Lightning towers. And then we also have things like the archer tower and cannons and so forth. So these specific towers are defense towers because they either A, buff your particular base, or they protect something on your base, or they actually will attack the dragons that are on your base trying to take your stuff. So there is a big difference between defense towers and non-defense towers. Now, another thing that also will help not only buff your base and attack the dragons is your perches. So your perches are kind of like defense towers, but they're not. You've got to build them in the same way, but anyway, we'll get into that a little bit more in detail in a moment. However, when it comes to your non-defense towers, these are going to be things that are actually resource towers. There is your home island, which has your other towers like your breeding castle, your incubator, your storage hut, and so forth. But you don't build these. These are, well, I mean, you kind of do in the beginning, but you don't continue building or changing these out. You simply upgrade them. So just like your home island things, your non-defense towers, which is your farm and your lumber mill, will not actually attack or give any kind of boost to anything on your island outside of rebuilding. So you can use those to help rebuild, which in a way does kind of protect the things around it. However, it does not have any kind of points for you. So for example, if you jump in and you attack another base because you're wanting XP, those particular towers are not going to give you any kind of XP. So you can attack farms all day long, but 0 XP will come of that. So you need to actually attack defense towers in order to get your XP. Okay, for the next part, each defense tower can be classified in different ways. In fact, some can be put in multiple categories. So let's go through some of those categories that these would fall in. Now, the first category I want to talk about is the non-elemental tower category. Now, there is a slight rule breaker with this, and that is, of course, with the storm tower and the lightning tower. These towers are not necessarily element free, but they do not take elements. So we went ahead and put them in this category for the fact of building them. Okay, so with these specific, non-elemental towers, these will solely take lumber to build on your base, and these will be those that you first unlock when you start building your base. So you'll be able to pretty quickly start building all of these things, including the mage towers, and then pretty soon after, even the lightning tower. So these are the ones that, in essence, you will be building when you first start growing on your War Dragon time. Now, there are specific ones in here that I suggest against building outside of getting your reward for building it, and that is, of course, the ballista and the trebuchet. So we'll go through that in a little bit more detail here shortly, but let's go ahead and jump over to elemental towers. Now, these specific towers require elements to build them, and you are required to level up to a certain point before you can even unlock the ability to build them. And that is things like your ice turret, your fire turret, your dark flak, and all the other flaks, as well as, of course, your totems. Now, these require elements to build, and like I said, you need to level up before you have the ability to even build these. Now, there are some mutable towers, and these are the ones I mentioned before. These do give elemental attacks, but they do not require elements to build them. Now, the buffing towers is what I call them. These are your totems. These towers do not have any special attack power, but instead they're going to buff your base against the attack of other dragons. Now, the really big trick on this is you can only put one on your entire base at a time. And it's only going to protect you from a specific elemental dragon. So for example, if you build a dark totem, then you're only going to be buffing against any kind of dragon that's attacking you that is, of course, a dark element. Now, one of the bad things about these towers is, yeah, granted, it's going to take down what that dark element would attack you, but what's the percentage that one specific type of element is going to attack your base every time, number one? But number two, then it's taking the seed of something that could be putting out an attack power instead of just buffing. So these can be a bit of a challenge, and I don't really specifically suggest these. I do, however, personally build mine, but I keep them in the background because I think once they get pretty large in size, then it's definitely worth using. But again, I don't know. I think it's kind of a questionable thing when you should use them and what level. I'm still trying to figure that out for myself. For now, I would just really hold off on those until you know for sure that's something you want to invest in. Okay, so like those towers, there are the turret towers, which definitely put out an attack. The cool thing about these is they have a double feature attack. So not only do they projectile towards your dragon, but they actually have a beam attack as well. So that is one really cool thing about these. Now, these do, of course, take elements, and you do have to be a specific level in order to build one. And then, of course, a lot of times you're going to be limited to how many you can build until you unlock that feature as well. Now, let's jump right into the favorite of mine, which is the flak towers. Each of these flak towers are going to have their own specific ability. Some are known to stun and attack, some are known for beam attacks, and so forth. So definitely look into that specific feature per the item you're wanting to build. Now, whenever you're looking at any of these, especially the elementals, be sure to look at the two different attacks. They've got the regular attack power and they've got their special attack power. This is going to make a big difference. Now, flaks are really cool because of super shots. Their super shots can be extremely strong if you've built your flaks up nice and strongly. Now, speaking of super shots, the electro flak is cool because not only does it have a nice long distance strong beam attack, but this particular tower is also going to do super shot boosts for any of the other flaks that are on the same squared island as them. When I say that, I mean the ones with 5 spots. So if you're on a long island where there's 10 spots for towers, it's only going to help boost those that are on the same section as that part of the island. So let's say you've got it back there where your last long island is, and you've got it on the very, very end. It's only going to boost those last 5 spots, not the front 5 spots. So that is something that is very important to understand as well. There are shielding towers as well. Now, these towers are known to put a shield over nearby towers to help protect them and give them stronger health. This is going to make it a little more difficult for whoever's attacking your base to take down those towers. Now, some of these are better shields than others. For example, the wind tower is a very great the storm tower is a very great shielding tower. However, the ice tower does put shields over things as well. So the ice turret does, but it's not going to be as powerful or as strong as the storm tower. Now, the red mage tower does the same thing. It does put a shield over everything, but it generally protects it from specific types of attacks, like red spells. So it doesn't necessarily have the same strength as the little individual shields that, for example, your storm tower would put over. But these are your basic shielding style towers. The red mage can also be classified as a disabling tower. With the red and the blue mage towers, they can be used to not only super shot and steal the rage of the dragon coming in on your base, but it can also help protect it from any specific spells. For example, if it's coming in and it's got a blue shield, if there is a blue mage tower there, it's going to prevent it from being able to utilize that shield. However, if there's a red mage tower there, and let's say it's got the death gaze, it's not going to do any good for them to hit anything under that red globe that's being protected from any red spells. So those to me are definitely a must. However, if you have too many of these, you can find yourself not having enough attack power against the dragon coming in on you. So you really have to find a great balance. Now, when it comes to projectile towers, there are some that are elemental ones, of course, but projectile attacks, I want to specifically go over the non-elementals with you right now. Now, these projectile attacks with these 3 towers are all considered projectile attacks. However, the trebuchet is also considered a stun attack, which will stun the dragons for a moment to help prevent them from attacking. However, this is a waste of time to build something like this whenever the Dark Flower does the exact same thing, and it has a lot more power. So I really suggest building it against a trebuchet. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Now, when it comes to, of course, the cannon and the archer towers, please do not discredit these, because these can be very strong towers, especially when it comes to getting them up to higher levels. And it's really, really handy up against dragons of elemental class. For example, Necrix. He has no strength against things like this. So if Necrix is hitting a base with really big non-elemental towers, such as the archer or the cannon, he is going to be a lot more susceptible to actually losing on your base. So please don't discredit these specific towers. Now, I know that I said that these aren't defense towers, but that's because they're technically not a tower, they are perches. Now, these do come with an ability to defend your base, but they also come with the ability to buff your base, just like with the totem. So let's go over perches and a little bit more in detail so that you can better understand how to utilize these on your base. Now, you're going to have the ability to build 1 to 3 perches. There's the Sea Gazer perch, the River Watch perch, and the Stone Spear perch. Now, each of these perches are going to only, protect or buff a specific part of your island. For example, if you'll notice the L shape in the back on the left, that says the Sea Gazer perch, and I've got a red L shape there. That is because the Sea Gazer perch will only boost and help protect that specific zone. And then the River Watch perch, which is to the top, is only going to do that L-shaped zone. And then the Stone Spear perch will only do the bottom section. So let's say, for example, all of your strength, all of your awesome towers are sitting near the River Watch perch. And all you've really been focusing in on is building up your Sea Gazer perch. Then the problem is that Sea Gazer perch is not going to boost up everything that you've put over on your River Watch. So you're really going to want to double these together. So if you're putting like the main kill island on your Sea Gazer perch area, then you're going to want to really build up that specific perch. Now, when you build lots of these perches and they're all lower level, they're not really going to do a lot. However, if you build one up, and just like with whenever you're building, for example, a dark flak, and you focus and you build that thing up to be very large, it's going to be a lot stronger. Remember the rule of thumb, build up and not out. It's going to be the exact same way when it comes to your perches. Now, some more essential things that I think everybody needs to know about perches is, for example, whenever you put a dragon on your perch, it is not going to be removed from that perch for at least 24 hours. So it's basically stuck there in an essence. Now, at the same time, if you've taken it from your roster, it's now not going to be available for you to use an attack because it will be on the perch. Now, the cool thing is it will gain a small amount of experience as it sits there. But that does not mean it's an experience perch. Don't put crap dragons there to gain experience. Build that up and utilize that to help your base. Now, you can choose to also feed perch dragons. One of the big mistakes I made when I first started doing perches is I assumed that I had to feed the dragon in order for it to get XP while it was sitting there. The XP is automatic. Feeding them will actually boost the attack damage for a certain time that it's in there. So let's say you've boosted it for up to 6 hours by feeding it for 6 hours worth, then that is of course going to boost it for that whole 6 hours. Now, weaker perches won't be able to station powerful dragons, however. So you really need to understand that building them is going to be pretty, important. Another thing you need to know, very key thing, is you cannot put super shots on your perch. So if you're defending another base, you can click on that all day and it's not going to do anything. Now, the one thing that does suck about building perches is they do take black pearls, and they can be very challenging to get. because you're only really going to get these in gold chests. However, I noticed this particular season that if you'll notice on Tannock, because he's a defensive rider, you're actually able to get pearls in his line. So that is pretty cool. Let's talk about building this. So there is specific levels of your perches that will depend on what dragon tier can sit on that perch. So according to mobastudios.com, it's about roughly every 5 levels that your tier will gain the ability to go up another tier of dragons. For example, your levels 1 through 5 will be able to perch a purple dragon. And then, levels 6 through 10 will be blue. Then you're going to go up to orange, green, gold, platinum, sapphire, garnet, and emerald. Now, he only goes up to emerald, or she, I'm not sure who runs that particular website, only takes us up to emerald, which is level 49, I think. However, we got to remember a lot of these websites are outdated. So from all I know, it could go up into obsidian now and so forth. So we really need to figure out what the updated information on that is. However, this just gives you a general idea that the higher you go up in level on your perch, the larger the dragon you can perch on it. And that is a pretty specific importance because each particular tier has a specific rarity of dragon. Now, each rarity of dragon also has its own particular ability, and we'll go over that here in a moment. So when it comes to your perch, the one thing you need to know is, let's say you are breeding platinum dragons, then you really want your perch to be at a platinum level. It's better to have 1 at platinum than 3 at green. So really keep that in mind when you start building your perches. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about, like I said, is your rarity level. So the stronger the dragon, of course, the better your perch. Now, the first one we want to go over is your rare dragons. So rare dragons are not going to have any added benefit. These are just simply going to give a little bit of a boost to your base. But when it comes to your epic dragons, these are going to actually add a little bit of extra something to your base. Well, I shouldn't say your base, but the perch zone on your base. According to the blog called Dragon Perches, What's the Deal on wardragons.com, be sure to check it out. The epic dragon is going to actually give some protection. So it's going to reduce the damages from dragons with the same element as the perch dragon. Now, this resist does not stack with any totems. For example, if you have an ice totem and yet your dragon on there is an ice element, then it's not going to give you double the buff. So you're going to want to put 2 different types. You're going to want, for example, if you've got a fire totem, then you're going to want to put, anything but a fire elemental dragon on there at that point. So that is if it's epic. Now, what if it's legendary? The legendary is pretty cool because not only is it going to have the same thing that the epic dragons put out there, but it's also going to have its own little boost here according to what type of dragon it is. So let's say you have a legendary sorcerer dragon that's perched up. It is going to create a boost on super shots that are more effective. It's going to have damaging shots that will do more damage. Shields will have more HP or last longer. And the resource buildings that are on that area will heal for greater amounts. Now, if it's a hunter, it'll increase the attack speed of towers on the island. Warriors will increase the health of all towers on the island. And then, of course, like I said, all legendaries will have the epic buffs as well. Now, let's move on into the mythics. This is when it really gets fun because the mythic sorcerer will increase the chance for super shots to not consume super shot ammo. Now, the hunter will increase chances for building 2 fire shots each attack, and then the warrior will increase chance for building to create a shield 1 damage, and then of course it will also have all of the legendary and epic dragon buffs as well. So these are really, really cool, guys. This is a great way to kind of boost it up even more. So even if you put, let's say, a gold level dragon on here, if it's just, a regular rare rarity, it's not going to have all these extra things in there. So be sure to put, a legendary on there if you can at minimum. Once you unlock your mythics, definitely, if you don't have use for it, with the regular attacks, he's definitely worth putting on your base. So that is one great thing about the breeding of dragons. If you're like me and you really just play with the dragons that you get out of the events, then those that you breed will be really great for your perches. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the next part of perches, which is dragon riders. The most important fact you need to know is if you put a rider on your dragon that is perched, it must be a defensive rider. You know, if you go and you put on a regular rider, it's not going to add the same buffs as a defense rider. Now, defense riders can be forged in Atlas, but let's say you're not in Atlas yet. Right now, they actually have Tannock available during this season. This is the very first time we've seen this, and we may not see it again. Who knows? So be sure to take advantage of that. I know that that's what I'm working on. Now, the really cool thing about adding riders, defensive riders, to your dragons on your perches is that not only are you going to get your boost from your dragon, but now from your rider. Now, it's going to add buffs to your perch zones, making towers stronger and the attacking dragons less effective. Now, I know with Tannock, he's got a specific amount of buffs and debuffs that, you know, it's added to his. So I don't know for sure about the Atlas ones because I have not utilized them, but I do know for a fact that adding Tannock with almost all of his gear now has doubled my base. However, I was very disappointed because the fortification event is happening right now, and before the fortification, my dragon perch was 2 levels smaller and my base was with boosts at 95 million. And I went through and I upgraded my tower, and I think I took it up, yeah, I took it up 2 levels total, put my dragon back on the perch with Tannock, and for some reason he dropped by like 2.5 million. And so I thought, what in the world just happened here? So I went and I put stuff in and out and, you know, thought maybe that would fix it, and it did not. So I don't know why that happened. I don't know if they've, of course, like everybody likes to say, if they've nerfed him or what the deal is. But like I said, it lost quite a bit. But then I added my next item to him, which I think was, let me see, what was the last one I added to him? Rider, let me go look here. Okay, so the last item I added to him was his helmet. So when I added that, it took me up to 96 million. So I'm back up to a little bit stronger. But I do know for a fact that this made a huge difference on my base. Definitely worth getting. So that is, of course, your perches. And of course, we've talked about your defense towers. Hopefully knowing some very basics about this information is starting to put together some pieces to the puzzle so that you can better understand how to build your base, which in the end will also help you understand how other bases are set up so that you can better attack them or defend those on your team, which is what we'll be going over next week. So be sure to check back next week for the next video, which is the very last of the 4-part series of All About That Base, called Ruining Towers and Defending. Now, hopefully, like I said, with all these in bite-sized pieces, you guys can understand these. So be sure to check them all out, and by the end, you should know quite a bit. If there's anything that I didn't cover today that you have any specific questions about, feel free to put that in the comment section below and I will gladly answer that. If I don't know the answer, I will find it, or maybe somebody else will know exactly what the answer is for you. So guys, I don't know everything, but this is how I understand things. This is the information that I've gathered. It doesn't make me an expert by any means, but hopefully this helps out anybody and everybody out there that is having any issues understanding how to grow in the game. Until next time, guys, before you leave, don't forget to give my video a big thumbs up and then subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit that little bell for notifications. It'll be especially useful if I go live. Happy hunting!